A question: who is Chris Scanlon? The South Buffalo native and former Common Council president is now acting mayor of the city of Buffalo. But what put him on that political path? Ahead of the mayoral primary that's just a few months away now, Investigative Post reporter and new associate editor Geoff Kelly looked into different aspects of Scanlon's rise to political power in a three-part in-depth series. And Geoff joins us live here tonight to talk about this. Geoff, thanks for coming in. Congratulations on the new title.
Well, thank you very much, Michael.
I want to ask you first about the history and what brought Chris Scanlon to political prominence in the city of Buffalo, and also, you know, his family is very politically connected in the city and has been for a long time.
Oh, sure, absolutely. His father was a top aide to former Mayor Jimmy Griffin, four-term Mayor Jimmy Griffin from South Buffalo, and Scanlon himself, he's not in politics until he was 30, when there was an opening for South District councilman, and somehow in the confusion, there was a bit of confusion about who would take that vacant seat, and a deal was made, as so many deals have been made by the Scanlon family and their political network, to get Chris in there, and that sort of set the stage to get to where we are now.
We know, and there was news earlier this week on this, that he is very close with the police and fire unions. The police union, we believe, played a big role in the acting mayor removing the police commissioners.
Sure.
Not necessarily popular with the union. You juxtapose that, though, with Scanlon's job going forward of trying to balance a budget that is tens of millions of dollars in the red. How tricky will it be for him to balance those two things? Very
tricky. He's been very close with those unions. He called the members of the Buffalo and Fire and police departments near and dear to him, and in fact his family members work there. He's got two brothers who are firefighters, a sister who works in the police department. The only way to cut those budgets, which make up the majority of city spending, by 10%, which is what he's asked every department to do, is personnel costs, and that means either laying people off, which is unlikely, or cutting overtime. And cutting overtime is going to strain his relationship with both the police and fire unions.
One of the things a lot of people have sort of wondered about is how he plans to balance the budget. And you asked him about this, right? We're talking about 10% across the board budget cuts, selling city property, doing a lot of things, but also perhaps reaching out to Albany and hoping that the state of New York will give some funding. I asked him about that earlier this week, and the acting mayor said he didn't go to the governor's state of the state asking for money, but he's certainly hoping they adjust AIM funding or they do something, because he's got to balance the budget.
He also told me that he would not go with his hand out to the county or the state or the federal government until he had figured out a way to cure the sort of chronic imbalances in Buffalo's budget, which is what has got us here over the past 2 decades, is budgeting, basically failure to raise revenues while expenses keep going up.
Finally, I know you were able to ask him a question that people at home might be wondering right now. Considering the financial straits of the city, considering some of what was left over from the previous administration, why would you want this job? A lot of people are lining up for it. It's going to be a competitive primary. What did Scanlon say when you asked him that?
Back in August, I asked him this question when it was likely that this was going to happen, and he said, I want the job because it's hard. And I asked him again in December, and how he liked it now, you know, about a month and a half into his tenure as acting mayor. And he said, I love it. I love the sort of chaos of it, the fast pace of it. So, you know, he seems very much at home in the job, you know, bless his heart.
Yeah. It's, again, it's going to be a fun race to cover, a lot of candidates getting in, and here we go, a few months to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Geoff Kelly with Investigative Post. You will definitely, especially if you live in the city, but even if you don't, read this three-part series, investigativepost.org. Geoff, thanks.
My pleasure. Thank you.